Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some intriguing news when it comes to Sony, where we actually saw them go and send out quite a few different emails, and someone like, I don't want to say it's good or bad, I think it's maybe good for everyone who's going to be using some of the brand new PlayStation Plus updates, but we actually have had them send out proper, now official communications with developers and a lot of game studios and all of that have now been slowly being leaked. Now, like I said, it could kind of go good, kind of go bad. I think I'm leaning towards somewhat on the good side, because it actually opens up a lot more options to other folks. But they did send out some very peculiar information. They did go and send out some more interesting stuff to go talk about, and this is kind of our very first, I think, step into the actualization of the PlayStation Plus brand new system, because as you guys know, it's going to complete full-on overvamp. So we have a lot of stuff to go talk about, a lot of intriguing stuff to go talk about, and this is definitely one of those videos I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. As well, before we fully dive in the video itself, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter giveaway as well down below, Xbox up in stock, Twitter and Twitch stream as well, Weeble, Coinbase, Amazon, all the other various stuff. You guys always usually know the drill, and let's go dive in the video. So as I mentioned, this is actually, I think it's good. I want to say I think it's good, where we basically are now having an option / almost a need to have timed game trials for a requirement for a certain amount of subsection of games. Now we're going to talk about that, but basically, it kind of seems like once you have like a certain price point, you essentially have to have a demo if you want to have it over for PlayStation games. Which, first and foremost impression, I think this is good. Mainly because the more game demos you have, the more chance you guys have to, like, I don't know, see if a game's good, bad, ugly, especially if you guys are a day one player, like I'm sure a lot of you guys are. So, yeah, kind of cool. Let's go do a little more in-depth information, because there's little, like, seances and information to tie in with it. And like I said, I do believe this is very closely related to the brand new PlayStation Plus features. So with this, we have an article over here from Game Developer talking about the timed game trials are now a requirement for some PlayStation developers. And this is all in regards to Sony kind of sent out this information as of recently. So, Sony is requiring some developers to create timed trials for their games to now include in its brand new PlayStation Plus premium plans. And if you guys don't know, basically the PlayStation Plus premium plan is just a higher cost PlayStation Plus, which is an optional thing, and we are actually going to be playing that throughout the next few weeks as Sony gets it fully rolled out. So like I said, this is kind of the first step in the door for them to start utilizing all this stuff. Sony has now officially begun communicating with developers about its plans for timed game trials for PlayStation Plus premium subscribers. According to sources speaking to Game Developer, and also we've been seeing this kind of floating around as well on Twitter, developers working on games that have a wholesale cost of $34 or higher, so basically 33 euros in Europe, 4,000 yen in Japan, or $34 in America, are now officially required to create time-limited game trials for their games. And also the update for the article itself, this number was previously referred to as the retail pricing, but it has been updated to reflect that it refers to the wholesale pricing as well. And these game trials have to have at least a 2-hour long period. So let's go talk about that first and foremost, because it's kind of like the biggest thing. When it comes to this, I can almost guarantee there's going to be a lot of games that are priced very, very specifically at $33 or $33.99, because it does specifically say $34 or higher, which, like I said, we're going to be seeing a lot more games these next few years until they go adjust that platform at a nice solid $33.99, or the very comparisons for the other regions. So I'm going to say this is good. It could be potentially bad depending on how you look on it, because this actually could maybe go and affect up a lot of, like, more so game sales, or maybe even as well maybe game prices, like I just mentioned. That's partially a joke, but I do think a lot of game studios would probably be changing their prices to kind of reflect that, or unless they'd either want to try to bump it up higher. Like, there's probably not going to be that many $35 games. I'd probably imagine it'd be more on like the $33 mark or $40, and it is a little bit on the bad news side, because just in terms of pricing, you're not going to go for $35. It's probably not worth the extra money to go put the extra time, effort, and have to go and deal with like approval process and all of that for your game. So you'd probably go at least 40 or higher. So interesting to know. And also be kind of curious to see like what happens when the game kind of goes more on a cheaper pricing, although I'm just going to assume based on the fact that the original price was higher, it'd still have to have the demo regardless. So games that cost lower than these amounts are not required to create limited time trials, according to the brand new PlayStation 5 policy. The plan follows Sony's announcement for the expanded subscription options for PlayStation Plus. Many developers were informed about the new policy via an update to Sony's developer portal. Our sources indicate that they had not received any other communication about this change, so this is like the general thing as we mentioned. Just a lot of people are getting these messages overall. Kind of to chime on in with this, I think this is good. Mainly because for this one, too, because like I just think it's gonna be nice for people to have more of a chance. Like it kind of actually adds a little bit more extra merit towards the higher price demo thing, because it lets people at least have a chance to go check out at least a wider range of games. I was kind of maybe thinking it'd only be like those $60 games, so at least that does add a little bit more on the AAA side or higher side, and at least for me that does kind of make the option at least slightly more intriguing. Although only 2 hours is not really the biggest deal. Maybe if you're someone who's like, well, there's like 5 games out, I may be busy or maybe I have a kid, maybe I'll go bump up my subscription for 1 month so I can go and check out these games, get like 10 hours of gameplay and kind of go from there. So just want to let you guys all know when it comes to content with that. Seems very nice, seems very cool, so good stuff with that. Many developers were informed by this one, as we mentioned too, when it comes to the update, so I'm kind of intrigued they didn't have it a little bit quicker, or at least have more games kind of planned up for it. A 2-hour demo can actually take quite some time depending on the game and what it has to be done, so we'll kind of see from there. The good news is these requirements are not retroactive and do not apply to upcoming PlayStation VR titles, which would maybe make sense too, because a lot of VR titles are usually like on the quicker side and smaller side, and as well, like you could probably get a pretty good gist of the game through a 2-hour period too. The non-proactive side is also too as well, just so like people don't have to, I guess, maybe pause development when it comes to that. The less great news too is that if you're a developer planning to release on the PlayStation Store in the future, you now need to go budget the time and resources to create an additional, basically, mini game. So at least it's kind of like, it's kind of intriguing. I do think this is really good for consumers, obviously, but I'm also kind of curious on how many folks are even going to want to go pay the $18. If you guys are planning on getting this like more additional PlayStation Plus higher end thing, please leave a comment down below and let me know. I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts and comments with it, so I can kind of go through it for, just for stuff in general. So at least there is some flexibility as part of Sony's policy, though, which is also nice. Developers have up to 3 months after their game's launch on the PlayStation Store to release their time trial. Trials are also only required to be available in the PlayStation Plus premium users for at least 12 months. So it is also kind of giving people a little bit more of a freedom too as well, although I think that alone is good for developers, but not as good for normal consumers. Mainly because most games, probably within the first 3 months, are usually already at this point in this day and age already going on sale. So if you have a $60 game, at that point they're probably getting to like the $30, $40 mark, depending on how well received the game was, etc., etc. So at that point, I kind of feel like we're going to see a lot of $33 games, or if they go push the higher price point, a lot of game demos available around like 3 months after the fact. Like when it comes to these big game studios, and you guys have probably seen a lot of like just postponements, even for like the Nintendo movie, which just came out, or at least been announced really recently. A lot of this stuff is becoming very intriguing because obviously they want the extra time. If you could have an extra 3 months to work on the game, you're going to want to do it, whether it's for patches or just trying to go and allocate that time towards just making the game as good as possible, marketing, whatever it is. So the new policy seems to be a mixed bag for all developers planning to release on PlayStation. On the one hand, larger publishers like Activision Blizzard, 2K Games, or Sony's in-house studios will likely have the resources needed to create those time-limited game trials and stand to benefit from PlayStation Plus subscriptions, which I do agree on. Like if you're someone like God of War, that'll probably be like a day one or first week availability for the demo. Like I think a lot of those games out there, I think like Horizon or other various games, I think a lot of those games will be very nice to utilize. And I do think those like $60 games are nice, but once again, I'd rather just go and save like that extra $10 every month that I'd have to pay for the higher tier and just go and buy a game. Because at that point, if I do that throughout a whole year, I can essentially go and save $120. That's rounding up a little bit. And then I don't have to really worry that much when it comes to, well, everything. So I basically just go buy 2 games, and if those games are awful, then I don't have to worry about it. Like a 2-hour trial is not really that long, I feel like. I feel like if anything, I kind of still wish they would have went a little bit more on the Game Pass type style, or maybe just, I don't know, did something cooler with that. Maybe on occasion, maybe gave free AAA games once a year or something like that. I don't know. Like imagine how cool, like you'd probably get a lot more subscriptions if say you had God of War, maybe for a freebie, if you guys have at least a 6-month subscription. I don't know, it kind of equals out, but that's kind of just my take on that one. So on the other hand, if your game is hovering just over the wholesale $34 price point, you're probably working with fewer resources than your competitors, which is also true for these smaller devs. And 2 hours may be a significant chunk of your game's content too as well. So think a game that's maybe a 6-hour game, 2-hour demo, you're pretty much almost at the end, and at that point, some people might just go watch it on Twitch, watch it on YouTube, or just maybe go and just drop the game completely on top of that. As a lot of people can also maximize these game trials and opportunities to acquire new players, but with no promise of payout at the end, it can risk a lot of work for limited payoff. And I do kind of think for game developers, this is kind of like a weird, sketchy thing. I think it's good for consumers, though, which is nice. Game demos have had a bit of a resurgence in the last few years, from prologues released on Steam to limited time demos offered during events like Summer Games Festival and Valve's seasonal Steam Game Festivals. It's interesting to see Sony revive them as a tier for relatively higher rolling subscribers. Sony did not respond to their cores too as well in terms of all this stuff they'll have a chance to see. And also a previously version of the story also said the new policy games that cost $34 at retail. They've also apparently updated the article to clarify the amount refers to wholesale price. So just so you guys don't know. I think we mentioned that either way. So kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below. I think it's good for consumers, bad for developers. I probably still will not be paying the $18 a month for it in the first place. I'll probably stick with my $9.99 itself and go from there. So kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console controller. Twitter and Twitch room as well down below. Twitter giveaway down below. Webull Coinbase down below, and all that other good stuff as well down below. And I appreciate you so much for watching.